Personally, I've gone through different seasons of my life where I felt my prayer life was very, very strong, and other times when it was very weak. I think that when I struggled, it was at times where I would approach God, give Him honor and praise, and be thankful for what I have, and then throw Him a list of things I wanted Him to do. When my prayer life is stronger is when I try to discern His will and try to align my heart with God's will as opposed to my own. My wife Carol and I started attending Grace in 2005, and I had the honor of being appointed as an elder in 2015. And its simplest form, prayer is communicating with God, both listening and speaking to God. It's an opportunity for us to share our burdens, our struggles, and our desires with God. It should be a moment of reflection on us, as well as a reflection of God's character, that God is a loving God, and a reflection as to the things that we can be thankful for. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 says, "Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." That's just a reminder to pray at all times, not only when things are tough in life, but also in Thanksgiving and when things are going good. There are many reasons why people may struggle in their prayer life. One, for example, could be questioning, is God truly sovereign? Is God truly a loving God? And if people look at their past prayers and their prayers are repetitious and they don't find the answers that they want, or they don't hear any answers at all, then they struggle with even questioning, is there a God? I think that there can also be a tendency for people to struggle in their prayer life when things are going very good. It's easy for me to pray when things are bad and I need something. It is more difficult for me to consistently be in prayer when things are running very smoothly. In Matthew 6, Jesus did give an example of how to pray. First, when you approach God, approach Him as God. To honor Him and give Him the respect that He deserves as you approach Him in prayer is very important. The second part of the example that Jesus gave the disciples was, "Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done." There's a tendency to approach God and try to convince God what we want, as opposed to seeking out His will and trying to discern in our hearts what needs to change so that we can be in closer alignment with God's will. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. We need to recognize not only the sins that we've committed, but we also need to recognize the same amount of forgiveness that we receive from God, we need to reflect out to others. As you go about your daily life, as you look at your surroundings around you, consider how you can respond to God in all those circumstances, regardless of where you're at, if you're in the car, if you're at work, if you're at church. At all times, reflect on where you are positionally with Christ and looking at those circumstances through the lens of Christ. Prayer is an excellent opportunity to practice the one another's within the church body itself. It demonstrates our love for one another, it demonstrates our support for each other, and it allows us to walk in faith with others at the same time. Prayer has always been one of our core values at Grace. Aside from the traditional times during the services specifically, we do have a group of people that meet early in the morning on Sunday mornings. They pray prior to the service itself. Additionally, at the end of the services, we allow an opportunity for people to pray with other members of the church. Sometimes we experience circumstances that are hard. At times, we may not even be able to find the words to pray. We don't know what to say. But in those circumstances, Romans 8:26 says, "Likewise the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words." God knows the provisions that we need to walk out His will. However, oftentimes we don't know what we need. And to ask God for those provisions to carry out His will is an opportunity for us to look back and recognize these are prayers that were answered.